In gratitude you have watered seeds of love in me. In gratitude, I will water seeds of love in someone too. I know you're there for me, and I am so happy. In gratitude, you have watered seeds of love in me. In gratitude, I will water seeds of love in someone too. And when you suffer some, just call and I will come.
Japanese. Arigato, ai no tame ni mizu o kurete. Arigato, arigato, mata dareka no tame ni mizu ageru ne. Anata ga ite totemo happy. Arigato, ai no tame ni mizu o kurete. Arigato, arigato, mata dareka no tame ni mizu ageru ne. Kurushii toki wa yonde ne iku yo.
Chinese.
MakeMeGenius.com. Did you want to see more science videos?
你灌溉我心中爱的种子，满心感恩，满心感恩，我会灌溉别人心中爱的种子，直到你为我在，我是多么 So dear Sangha, dear friends, next song we will sing the song Walking Meditation. In Plum Village, everybody will learn these words by heart. And it helps us to do walking meditation. So please, we enjoy this song together.
The mind can go in 1,000 directions, but on this lovely path I walk in peace. With each step a gentle wind blows, with each step a flower blooms. จิตใจลอยล่องท่องไปในนับพันทิศทางฉันจะเดินบนหนทางแห่งธรรมอย่างสันติก้าวทีละก้าวลมพัดช่วยเบาๆก้าวทีละก้าวดอกไม้แย้มบาน
Chinese.
我的心儿可以散落于十方，当我祥和地走在这路上，每一步微风送凉，每一步百花盛放。
Japanese.
心さまよけれど私は歩こうこの麗しい道を一歩ごとそよ風が吹き一歩ごと花が咲く
One more time with this song.
The mind can go in 1,000 directions, but on this lovely path I walk in peace. With each step a gentle wind blows, with each step a flower blooms. จิตใจลอยล่องท่องไปในนับพันทิศทางฉันจะเดินบนหนทางแห่งธรรมอย่างสันติก้าวทีละก้าวลมพัดช่วยเบาๆก้าวทีละก้าวดอกไม้แย้มบาน
Chinese.
我的心儿可以散落于十方，当我祥和地走在这路上，每一步微风送凉，每一步百花盛放。
Japanese.
心さまよけれど私は歩こうこの麗しい道を一歩ごとそよ風が吹き一歩ごと花が咲く
Namo Saka Munaye Buddhaya. Dear Thai, dear Sangha, today we are continuing on the Sutra on transforming fear and violence. And we will be studying verses 5 and 6. We would like to go back to the background of this sutra. This was given by the Buddha in the last year of his life. And in the last year, he saw a very tragic incident that his Saka clan were killed, were massacred by one of their descendants, King Virudaka. King Virudaka was a son of the daughter of a maid, even though his maternal grandmother was wife of a king, but she belonged to the lowest class in society. And his father was the king. So his father belonged to the noble class, but married the lowest class in society. So he was not respected, he was looked down upon. And he had the intention to revenge. And the higher class, the elite, this kind of caste system has been going on for hundreds of years. So it is a class struggle. And it is when it is time for Virudaka to have a chance, to have power, the intention, the desire to revenge, the seed to make even, have a chance to cultivate. And even the Buddha could not stop it. So it is a tragic story, but it tells how things are. In Buddhist psychology, things are passed down to us by our ancestors, both good, wholesome things and unwholesome things. We are also affected by collective consciousness. Even though we know that something is good, worth doing, but the collective consciousness says that no, it's not, then our individual consciousness will be defeated most of the time. And one way to change is to instill the wholesome things to manifest into collective consciousness. Maybe 50 years ago, people would not think that no smoking flight was possible. Because 50 years ago, many people smoked. We went to the restaurant, we went to the air flight, everybody smoked. But now, most of the time, most of the places, it is smoke-free. So it doesn't mean that we cannot change collective consciousness. But changes take time. Changes come with love and understanding, with patience. And the people who need to change the most is ourselves. When we change, other people may change. Peace in oneself, peace in the world. Changes in oneself, changes in the world. So don't give up. If you believe in something good, just do it. Do not wait. Do not say that or my effort would be wasted. Other people do not do it, why should I try? For your own benefit, for other people's benefit, go out and make the change. But the change starts from within. It was the 79 years of the Buddha's life, and these things happened. And the King Viruddhaka suffered from inferiority complex. Always think that he is inferior to others. In our normal state, idle state, when we have nothing to do, just sitting, our brain has a tendency to think what others are thinking about us. How do I look? How do I say that? What does he think about? Always, when you are idling, the brain circuits always judging ourselves, trying to guess what other people are thinking about us. So no wonder why Viruddhaka had this complex, especially his background coming from a slavery class. With that in mind, we see how the Buddha proposed a solution. He suffered. The whole clan was killed. Verses 5 and 6. The pain caused by the sharply pointed knife lasts a long time and does not change. As they continue to hold on to the knife, they fill the world with their suffering. Only when they have the opportunity to recognize and remove the knife from their heart will suffering cease, and they will have a chance to stop. So the Buddha recognized that there's a knife in here. We always carry a knife with us. The knife had the effect of bringing suffering and pain to other people. Most of the time, we do not realize that we are carrying the knife. Most of the time, we do not realize that we are carrying the knife. So only when we have the opportunity to recognize and remove the knife from our hearts. So the first thing is we have to recognize that we are carrying the knife. And what is this knife make of? It make of the entanglements of life. Do not get caught in entanglements of life. Know how to cut through the roots of misperceptions and disorder. Let go of them and stop leaning on them. By letting go of wrong desires, our suffering can be overcome. The practitioners must transcend the cycle of suffering in order to realize the career of liberation. So this knife consists of desire, clinging to wrong desire, and having wrong perceptions. The practitioner must transcend the cycle of suffering in order to realize the career of liberation. When we talk about career, it usually lasts a long time. My career as an engineer, lasts for 20 years, so a long time. And throughout that career, what is this career? Career of liberation. So it takes a long time to liberate ourselves from this greed, from this hatred, from the ignorance. Don't be despair. Don't over expect it. Take one step at a time to transform our pain and our suffering. In order to look into the solution for this sutra, we have to go back to other teachings of the Buddha in terms of the practices, in terms of the causes of conflicts. How can the world get into the disarray? What are the nature of people? So we will see the origins of conflict. Why people fight? People want to live in harmony, but they fight all the time. There's reason for that. So that it is sutra, and one layperson asked Master Kachana. Back in those days, the caste system had 4 types of people: the Brahmins, the Khatriyas, the householders, and the workers, the untouchable, the lower class. So they're talking about the first 3, the Khatriyas, the Brahmins, the householder. Why do they fight? A layperson. So Venerable Kachana said that they fight because they are caught. Attachment to sensual pleasures, adherence to sensual pleasures, fixations on sensual pleasures, addiction to sensual pleasures, obsession with sensual pleasures, holding firm to sensual pleasures. That's why lay people fight. Okay, they go after the 5 sensual pleasures, 5 sensual desires. It makes sense. People who do not pursue spiritual liberation, they go after fame, sex, wealth, too much sleep, too much food. But why do monastics fight? This is the question. Why is it that ascetics fight with ascetics? Ascetics here are spiritual seekers. They give everything in their life. They left their wife, they left their family, they left their wealth. They become wanderers, seeking liberation. But they do fight. In fact, many wars start from the monastics, religious doctrinations, wrong belief, attachment to view. It is Brahmins because of attachment to views, adherence to views, fixation on views, addiction to views, obsession with views, holding firmly to views, that ascetics fight with ascetics. Back in those days, ascetics mean that spiritual seeker. So for the lay people, they attach to sensual pleasures. For ascetics, they attach it to view. my point of view is correct. There is only one truth. That's my truth. This is the root of conflict. And there's another sutra asking, dear Buddha, people want to live in peace and harmony. They want to love each other. But why? Why cannot they live together? The Buddha said they fight, they cannot live with each other because that jealousy and misery. Jealousy here means that other people have that they don't have, so they become jealous. The grass is always greener on the other side. We are jealous of what other people have. Misery here means that penny pinching. We don't want to give. There's no dharma here. We want to keep everything for ourselves. Why? Why do we have to give? If we give to others, this means that they will may become better than we are. Our jealousy will increase. So why give to them? So this is, the Buddha says, the main cause for why people cannot live in peace and harmony with each other. But what causes envy, jealousy, and misery? Because of liking and disliking. You like something, you want to pull it toward you. You dislike something, you push it away. You have a roommate, you have a brother or a sister that you want to be a roommate with. Please come, it's time for changing room. Rain retreat is coming. But please come and stay with me. But then the Sangha assign another brother and sisters. Oh, we say, no. That disliking and liking. And that's where conflicts come. Liking, disliking. But what causes liking and disliking? Desire. You like something. You desire it to be yours. You dislike something, you want to throw it away. Desire. But what causes desire? Thinking. When you like something and you think about it, you want to possess it. And if you do not think, when the mind thinks of nothing, there is no desire. So the main thing here is the thinking. But what causes thinking? Elaborate perceptions and notions. It is in our perceptions, our constructed perceptions. We think about something, we reason for why we like it, why we think about these kind of things, and then desire coming up. Desire come up, liking, disliking, lead to envy, jealousy, misery. And that's where the conflict starts. So the key thing here is to correct our perceptions. And we heard many times, 99.99% of the time our perception is wrong. So today's talk will be on correcting our perceptions, our wrong perceptions. And what is this wrong perceptions? There's a belief that there is a separate and never changing entity called a self. And this discriminating thinking put on all phenomena, put on label as wholesome, unwholesome, birth, death, coming, going, conflicting extremes. That's what they call duality point of view, duality thinking. So the solution is there. To see true nature of reality as impermanence, selflessness, and non-duality, which are the three elements of phenomena. The three dharma seals are the three doors of liberations. We heard so many of these concepts already, so many times. But how do we apply it in our daily life? What did the Buddha do when he on the path of liberation? What did he practice? He practiced a sutra, a practice called full awareness of breathing, in which there is 16 breathing exercises that guide practitioners to contemplate on their body, on their feelings, on their mind, and on their perceptions, using the mindful breath. So that's why this sutra is called the Discourse on Full Awareness of Breathing. And in each of these, in these 16 exercises, the Buddha divides into 4 sections. The first one is on body. The second one is on feelings. The third one is on the mind. The fourth one is perceptions, or what they call, usually called objects of mind. It is wrong perception that make us the way we are suffering today, or in those days. We suffer so much because of these wrong perceptions, and we are learning way to correct it. In the Diamond Sutra, which is called the diamonds that cut through illusions, the Buddha said that in a place where there is something that can be distinguished by sight, in that place there is deception. If you see somebody called Thầy Phap Kham, he's sitting up here, and you call this person Thầy Phap Kham, it's a deception. And that's where our problems lie. We give something a name, and we give a lot of characteristics to that name. And we thought that object is those characteristics. If you can see the silent nature of science, then you can see the Tathagata. If you can see things outside of those forms, then you can see true nature of things. Difficult to understand, but it's not that difficult. We got to go back to how perception is constructed. I like to analyze Chinese characters. You see the perceptions, the word perceptions. In the bottom, they are the heart, the mind. On the top, the words can see a form. When we see form, our mind give a name, give an idea, and attach that ideas to that form. For example, in the year 2001, there was the bombing of the Twin Towers in New York. And those attacks were carried out by the Taliban, by the Al-Qaeda. It's a Muslim group. So everybody who have something that connected with Muslim were thought to be terrorists. And Muslim, usually they have a turbans, they have beard. And so when people see people like that, that person is almost automatically labeled as a terrorist. Now we have COVID-19, but difficult to label a person as COVID-19 now. Characteristics, temperatures, you have a fever, 37.5 or above, you may have COVID-19. You cough, your muscles are tired. That's the characteristic of COVID-19 infected person. Anybody here who have fever? Do you cough? Where did you go? Did you go back, just go back from Bangkok? Should I go quarantine you? So perceptions already come in. And many COVID-19 infected persons do not have those symptoms. So do not rely on form, because somebody may be COVID-19 positive and they do not have those symptoms at all. So perceptions, volitions, the second word from here, that one. The bottom is the heart, is the mind, and the top is the field. It's like a piece of paper, and the mind can draw anything on that piece of paper. You don't like somebody, you give this body so many characteristics. You just write the bad characteristics, unwholesome mental formations on the piece of paper, and you assign those unwholesome mental formations to him or to her. And of course, if you like that person, you will list out many good things about a wholesome thing, and you assign to that person. So it's liking and disliking, two opposite sides. So how do we deal with these things? Luckily, there's insight, the third word. On the bottom is the heart. On the top is a broom. You take out the broom and sweep the defilement in your mind, then you become enlightened. And what do you need to sweep out from your mind? Greed, hatred, ignorance. And these four concepts need to be swept away from our mind. The first concept is called a self. We believe there is a never-changing, independent entity that we identify ourselves with. And we try our best to protect this self. But according to the Buddha's teachings, there is no such thing as a self. Everything is made up of the five aggregates. When conditions are sufficient, things manifest. When conditions are not sufficient, are sufficient, things do not manifest. We do not say, I think it's better to say that when conditions are sufficient, things do not manifest. It is, I think, more correct to say than to say when conditions are not sufficient, things do not manifest. Because for things not to manifest, conditions have to be there. Conditions have to be there for manifestations, and conditions have to be there for disintegrations. So everything depends on conditions. If there is such thing as a human being, it's a wrong perception. Human being is a two-legged animal. First, we have to realize that human is an animal. It's a kind animal, but also is a very weak, and sometimes very brutal animal. And because there's no such thing as a human being is just an animal. So the concept of other non-human being doesn't apply. What we mean is we discriminate between human and other animals. We say we are different, we belong to a different class. We have the right to survive, to grow, regardless of what other non-human beings' living conditions are. So the concept of a self, of a human being, of a non-human being, need to be erased from our mind. A lifespan is also a concept that needs to be erased. Lifespan here it means that something had the beginning. I was born 60 years ago. I will die 40 years from now if I live until 100 years old. You see? So there's a beginning, there's an end. But according to the teachings of the Buddha, things manifest when conditions are sufficient. Conditions are sufficient for me to be born 60 years ago. Conditions may not be sufficient for me to be alive until I'm 100 years old. Maybe one more year. So don't assume that you will live a whole life of 100 years. This morning there was a ceremony, a chanting for a grandfather of a brother who lived until 104 years old. We have people, young children die when they're 4 or 5 years old. So do not assume that we will live until 100 years. Conditions are sufficient, things manifest. Conditions are sufficient, things do not manifest. So correct our wrong perceptions, and is the task of a practitioner. We have up here a mess made up of greed, hatred, and ignorance. Then we have a monk taking a mop to clean the mess with the detergents made up of impermanence, selflessness, and non-duality. That's enough for us to live happily in this life. Luckily, the Buddha taught us on this in the Sutra of full awareness of breathing. It's there. The solution is in there, in the very basic practice that everybody who practice meditation knows. On the 13th exercise, breathing in, I'm aware of the impermanent nature of phenomena. Breathing out, I am aware of the impermanent nature of phenomena. Breathing in, breathing out, I am aware of the disappearance of desire. Breathing in, breathing out, I am aware of the no birth, no death nature of phenomena. Breathing in, breathing out, I let go of all my ideas, of my perceptions, of my thinking. The ways to correct these perceptions were included in the basic teachings of meditation that we all study. We all know this by heart, but we still suffer. But how do I get rid of greed, of hatred, of ignorance? Greed is a kind of extreme attachment. We suffer because we cannot live with our loved ones. Our loved ones have to be away. COVID-19 prevented me from going back to Hong Kong, for example. I cannot go to Vietnam. So I have attachment with my family members. I will suffer. Greed is an extreme form of attachment. We attach so much things, we want to possess it, and if we don't get it, we suffer. Hatred is an extreme form of aversion. If you don't like something, you don't like the smell of this flower, so you just put the flower away. You stay away from the smell. But if you don't like people, you may do something that you don't They're not in your control and may hurt other people and also hurting you a lot. A couple were fighting, a husband and wife were fighting, they arguing. And the husband told me he was so angry. And when he got out of the parking lot, he punched the windshield of the car and the windshield broke. People fall in love, they can die for each other. People hate each other, they may kill each other. That's what happened to Viruddhaka. The hatred was so much that he killed his entire Sangha clan. All of this because of liking, disliking, of duality thinking, of something is good, something is bad. So we need to take care of this duality thinking. Of everything that we want to study in Buddhism, you want to get enlightenment, these are the things that you want to be enlightened about. You realize that phenomena is impermanence, selflessness, non-duality. The Buddha found it 2,500 years ago. Impermanence can be related as silencelessness. Selflessness can be related to emptiness, and non-duality can be related as wishlessness in the three doors of liberation. But how do we apply it to our daily life? It's too abstract. Let's watch a video. This video is made for kids, and I love, if I have something that I really have to understand, I look into video for children because they explain it so simple. So, boys and girls, listen to this, watch this video.
This video is from www.makemegenius.com. If you want to see more science videos, go to www.makemegenius.com. Oh, yeah, it is free.
Hey, lucky man, can you give a bite to me? If I tell you something about pizza and food, would you give a piece? Okay, tell me, do you know where all food comes from? Wow, you are right. We humans get all our food from animals and plants. Let me tell you more about food. Plants are only living species who make their own food. They use sunlight, carbon dioxide from air, and water from soil to make their food. This process is called photosynthesis. So now you know plants make their own food. All other species, like animals and we humans, are dependent on plants. Now see, a giraffe is coming. It is eating the plant. Species who only eat plant are called herbivores. Oh, what is happening? A lion is coming. Oh, it is attacking the giraffe. Oh, it has killed the giraffe and is eating it. Species which eat other animals are called carnivores. So you have seen plants make their own food. Other animals eat plants, and some other animals eat those animals who eat plants. So all are dependent on plants. This is also called food chain. It starts from plants. In food chain, plants are known as producers as they produce food. The species who eat plants are called primary consumers, and the species who eat species dependent on plants are called secondary consumers. Now, there is one more part of this food chain. These are fungi and bacteria in soil. When animals die, these fungi and bacteria in soil decompose their dead bodies. They become nutrients. These nutrients again are used by plants to make food. See here, when lion dies, its body is decomposed in soil by bacteria and fungi, and it turns into nutrients. Then, these are again used by plants. These fungi and bacteria are called decomposers. Decomposers are an important part of food chain. Let us see other food chain. Here, rat eats acorns fruit, which comes from plant, and snake eats rats. Eagle eats rat. Eagle dies. It gets decomposed, and plants use decomposed nutrients to produce fruit. The food chains which we saw, which have one producer, one primary consumer, and one secondary consumer, are called simple food chains. Actually, life is not so simple. Look at this picture. This is very complex. Look at the rat. It can be eaten by cat also, or it may be eaten by snake. Plant can be eaten by goat or by rabbit. These kind of complex food chains are called food web, as they are very interconnected, like a spider web. So now you know a lot about food, food chain, and food web. Now can you give me a piece? Thank you. I was so tired and hungry. I wanted energy to continue. Do you know why we need food? Okay. You know we need food to get energy. Energy is required by living being for growth. Also for movement, we need energy. Similarly, when species reproduce, they need energy. Also, as grow up or grow old, our old tissues get damaged or new cells are produced. This process also needs energy. Now, from where this energy come from? Most of the living species use sun's energy. This energy is transferred to body via food they eat. Sun gives light energy, which is used by plants to make their food by photosynthesis. These plants are eaten by primary consumers and energy is transferred to them. Now secondary consumers eat these primary consumers and energy is transferred to them too. So does giraffe get all the energy from plant which plant gets from sun? Or does lion gets all energy from giraffe which giraffe gets from plant? The answer is no. Actually, 90% energy is lost when it passes from one part of chain to other. Like 90% energy is lost when giraffe eats plant. Similarly, 90% energy is lost between lion and giraffe. Look at this pyramid. It is called energy pyramid. This shows that energy available becomes lesser and lesser as we move on the top of food chain. To understand energy pyramid, let's assume plants absorb 1,000 units of energy from sun. When giraffe eats it, 90% energy is lost, so giraffe only gets 10% of energy. This means energy transfer from plant to giraffe is 105 of 1,000 units of plant energy, which is 100 units. Now when lion eats giraffe, 90% energy is again lost, and lion gets only 10 units of energy. So now you know more about food and energy. Can you give me one more bite? Please give me one more bite. You already have so much energy. I need more food to get more energy. Sorry, man.
So you're going to www.makemegenius.com for science videos. It also has lots of interesting facts and PowerPoint presentations for children.
So people ask, how can you be vegetarian and you have enough nutrition? But according to that diagram, we are the primary consumer, the secondary consumer. So we eat from plants. So we receive 90% of the first from the plants. But then, if we eat meat, the amount of energy is already reduced. But now how people, they think that if they eat tiger, they will become stronger. But according to these explanations, they do not get much energy at all. So don't be afraid that when we are vegetarian, we do not have enough nutrition. We have plenty of nutrition The cows, the oxen, they're so strong. What do they eat? Grass, vegetables. So we monks and nuns monastic who are vegetarian, we have enough nutrition. And if we need just some more things, we just look for some particular things. Don't afraid, don't worry that we do not have enough nutrition for our food. Now we go to a more connected things in our life to deal with this greed, hatred, ignorance. We like beautiful things. We like roses. But roses do not last forever. Maybe 2 weeks. It turns to garbage. Do you still like the roses after 2 weeks when they become garbage? Even in our flower vase for the Buddha altar, the water that used to provide nutrition for the flowers are very stink. You smell on it, it's very stink, but the flower itself is very fragrant. So in both beauty and beautiful, things beautiful and things so ugly, they interact. People love to see Robert Redford, the heartbreaker of the old days. But he was on the rise, is 70 years old. Of course, we all want to be young and fresh like the roses, or like these actors when they were young. We give name, rose, garbage, young and old. Shakespeare was aware of this, so he called. What's in the name? A rose, while the other name would smell that good. So he said, don't be attached to a name. But we are getting old. And we want to be young. That's our problem. Time, to many people, is the enemy. Because their appearance, getting old, wrinkle here and there, eyes back, bird's eyes, bird's rings, whatever. And that is over here, and we don't want to see it. It's so painful. Botox, make it softer, but and then it have effect. It's all because of concept of young and old. How do couple fall in love? When they were young, and now they are 40, 50s. Now their husband have a big belly, and his wife is kind of old also. How can they accept each other? It's reality that many people face. It's all a concept of old and young. My parents still love each other. They are 80, 89, 88, 89. Every morning when I was home, my father told a joke to my mom. Remember in the old days you said you loved that person? But now I think you better when you married me. And he keeps saying like that, and my mother just laughed. They want to keep each other happy. They have overcome the image of being young and in love. And now they accept they have been old. My mom cannot walk as much. My father had to help her. Things like that. So we need to erase, to transform the concept of old and young. Width of flower. You see a dandelion. It's a plant that's very common in Asia. And it has a lot of nutrition element in it. Vitamin A, B, C, and D, minerals, iron, potassium, and zinc. Can be used to add into salad. They're good for food. But if people want to plant flowers in the gardens, dandelion is considered weed. Throw it away. A very precious plant becomes a garbage, something unwanted. Beauty is in the eyes of beholders. We are useful or not depends on the eyes of beholder. It's on in our mind. Something useful can be no useful later. Something unuseful can become useful. So we're always fighting for this conflict. Because of this conflict, try to find values in things that we do, that we get into contact with. All because of liking and disliking. Can we accept things the way things are? Can we accept a brother and sister who are difficult the way they are? In terms of interdependence, interbeing. Back in the old days, one of the famous teachings that they used is this piece of paper. He said, look at this paper. This piece of paper contains the whole cosmos. There is sunshine, there is water, there is the woodpeckers, there is the workers who make this sheet possible. In this sheet of paper, we see the whole universe, interbeing of things. There's all in one, and one in all. The teachings of the Avantasaka Sutra. So we look into something very connected to us, white light. White light is made up of non-white light elements. Very simple. Put it into a prism, you see it's made up of 7 color light elements. You see rainbows. If there is no green, no yellow, no red light, there is no white light. So we are made up of others, no self elements. We become so acceptable, self-love, because there's others who are not been accepted and not loved. Do not think that the one who will not love are separate from us. We are loved because of others who are not loved. So there's the whole universe in a peck of dust. There, and the blue light, the red light, if they do not know that they are white light, they may be confused. So we say, blue light, you are white light. Red light, you are red light. You are not lost. You see, when you get together, put to the prism again, you come out to turn out in white light again. This is a scientific explanations of interbeing. Things are made up of other things. Things depends on the other thing to exist. White. All the colors, when they mix together, they make up other colors. So don't ever think that we can exist independently from others. And that clears us from the ideas of a self. There is a impermanence and never changing and independent entity called self. And with this, when we watch the movie, the food movie, we see that our interactions, our interdependence with animals. Because of the COVID-19, nature had become more friendly with the animals. We can see picture of the lions sleeping on the road. The flamingo in India go to the stopping point in their immigration pass. And we can say that we are a bird. We are the birds. We are the winds. We are the river. How is that? No birth, no death. It is only a manifestation. We see in here the water cycle. The water in the oceans evaporate, become the clouds. The cloud come down, become ice, form rivers, and go down to the ground to make the water basin down in the ground, and then go down to the ocean again. So we are all part of this never-ending cycle of life. Everything depends on other things to manifest. And it is a never, it's always continuation. No birth, no death. Many people, there's about 200,000 people die because of COVID-19. Where do they go? If you say no birth, no death, they're dying. And how do the relatives deal with their loss? Back then, in the 1945, the world population was only 3 billion. Now it's 7 billion. Where do these 4 additional billions people come from? They will go to maybe 10 or 13 billions, and then they go down. If we want to have a balance for population on the earth, maybe we just need about 5 billions. 2 billion people have to die. Who will die? Is this the way that the nature way of balancing the populations? What I see is things happen, things manifest. When conditions are sufficient, things manifest. When conditions are sufficient, things do not manifest. There will be a day that our population will be decreased. Japan, now they have 120 million people, but in 40 years, it will be 80 million people. So 40 million people have to die. Or, there's no, they have to die. So birth and death, these kind of things, is just a cycle of life. And there we just say that the manifestations, life go on, and just like this manifestation from the ocean, from the water in the ocean to the cloud, the water to ice, to the water on the stream. It's just a transformation. And people, regardless of COVID-19 or whatever, people will die as a fact of life. And birth and death is just only concepts. This is the teachings on the no-duality and how the patriarch dwell and live in peace. The deer take refuge in the countryside, the birds in the clouds of the sky. Is this duality thinking? Thinking that there is coming, there is going. Thinking that there is failure, there is success. Thinking that there is being, non-being. Non-duality thinking is coming, manifest because of going. Going manifest because of coming. Things interact. They coexist. With that, we live in freedom. And how can this help our king, Virudaka? He had this hatred that will carry on in his blood by his ancestors for hundreds of years. How can he stop revenging? It was an order from his ancestors. You have the chance. Please take justice. The Buddha knows this. Sometimes you cannot avoid the collective consciousness. Things going like that, you try your best to create conditions for it to go the other way, but that's what you can do. That's the best that you can do. Throughout his life, the Buddha did not accept the caste system. He ordained prostitute, he ordained murderer, he ordained a fascist carrier, every class in society. He said the Brahmins, the higher class, are not necessarily better than the lower class. People do not born and were assigned to be wholesome or unwholesome because of their birth. They become wholesome, become noble because of their practice, because of their spirituality. That's why the murderer, Agulamara, become a teacher. Why Upali, a barber, become a Vinaya master. But the Buddha effort alone was not enough, because his relative still consider their blood to be highest. They still continue to look down on other people. The momentum of the past generations continue, so the conflicts continue. How can we stop that? One time, Thầy was asked in Deer Park Monastery, if things is like this, does Buddhism have any role to play in world peace, in making people's lives better? I say yes, but only a little bit. Buddhism has been in existence for 2,500 years. We have World War I, World War II, many wars, and people have not learned from the mistakes. It becomes only the thing to talk about, to have ceremonies, and that after ceremony people fight. So the Buddha stressed on personal change. And then personal transformation happen, then collective transformation can happen. But it has to start from within ourselves. The Buddha could not save his clan, but we have been benefit from his teachings. 50 years ago, no smoking flight, no smoking was only a dream. Now it's become a reality, and everybody follows. Plastic waste is now a problem, and we only think about it will go away somehow. But we can only dream because we're still using them. Reality and dreams. But can we live a liberated life? I believe so. Because everything depends on our mind. If we can change our perceptions, we can live in peace, in liberty, and we can have others doing the same, then change in the world can happen. So, draw in non-duality, practicing the first percent of mindfulness, go back to our in-breath and our out-breath, draw in the present moment. Things that happened in the past with the Sakya clan is still happening now. In a world of turmoil, we can live in peace by practicing equanimity, non-aversion, non-attachment, so that change in transforming fear and violence can happen.